Okay, question number 1. Which portion of the Constitution authorized Congress to pass health care?
I appreciate it. So I just pulled up my Constitution. I was sort of looking for the health care clause, and I didn't find it. But you know, there is something in the Constitution that it's amazing. It is the Commerce Clause, and the Commerce Clause gives the ability to regulate interstate commerce, or more specifically to make sure that commerce happens, that the state doesn't set up barriers to competition that prohibit commerce. And one of the biggest problems that we have today in our healthcare industry is rising costs. And a lot of those costs are frankly due directly to the fact that every state has its own set of healthcare regulations, and there literally is no real competition in the healthcare industry. And some of the first steps that we ought to take, and I'm amazed that Congress doesn't. I mean, they're all busy up there trying to extend the Commerce Clause to reach to every conceivable thing, including things that people don't do. And what they ought to do is go out to the states and say, hey, healthcare is an important commercial item. It's an important business. It's time to eliminate the barriers to competition. Every state has its own set of regulations. They dictate coverage. They require one group of people to subsidize another group of people. They compel the healthy to pay for the healthcare choices of those who choose high-risk behaviors. And this ought to be the first place. It's such low-hanging fruit. Everybody likes to talk about, let's force those evil insurance companies. And while we were talking about single health care and all these other different plans, people said, let's force those nasty healthcare guys to compete. And I'm all for that. Hey, let's make them compete. Let's make them compete with each other. Let's strike down these state regulations that are getting in the way. This is where they ought to be applying the Commerce Clause, is to eliminate those regulations. And let's make the insurance companies compete with each other. So there really isn't a place, I believe, in the Constitution for a national health care plan.